Le interviste della nostra rubrica proseguono con grandi nomi della musica. Sono orgogliosa di introdurre un musicista che ha fatto la storia degli ottoni. Del mito Roger Bobo si è sentito spesso parlare e noi oggi abbiamo la fortuna di averlo qui con noi in collegamento. Maestro, il centrostudiamericani la ringrazia di questo regalo che ci ha fatto. Ma iniziamo subito con le domande. Com'è nata la sua passione proprio per la tuba e ci può raccontare della sua prima esperienza all'interno di un'orchestra?
Oh, when I was a young boy, I played the trumpet, and I didn't like the practice. Then I had an opportunity to go to junior high school, went to the band room and saw this tuba in the corner and went over there and started playing it and figured out, okay, this is just like a trumpet, but 2 octaves lower. So the first time I picked up the tuba, I could play it. And I enjoyed it very much. I got in trouble for doing it, so it became the forbidden fruit syndrome. And I also got a lot of attention, which made it also attractive. Around the age of 14, I started playing in my school orchestra. And then I started playing in the all Southern California Junior High School Orchestra. And then I played in the high school orchestra, played in a lot of municipal orchestras in the Los Angeles area. And then I went to the National Music Camp in Interlochen, Michigan, and played in the National High School Orchestra. And it just sort of carried on from then.
Nel 1961 ha eseguito il primo recital di tuba alla Carnegiehall di New York. Cosa ricorda di quegli anni?
Well, the tuba was the center of my life at that time. I was a member of the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra. And I got this invitation from a classmate who he wanted to become a concert manager. So he said he was going to manage a series of concerts in Carnegie Hall, the Carnegie Recital Hall. And he said, do you want to do it? And I said, yes, of course. And so I did it. I went down to New York from Rochester, New York, and played the recital. It was very successful. I got good reviews. It sort of launched me since the last 60 years. I've got a lot of momentum from that specific recital.
Ci può raccontare del suo rapporto con lo scrittore Johnupdike? Le scrisse una breve poesia apparsa nel 1961 sul New York Times. Lo conosceva personalmente?
I didn't know him personally, and I never had heard of him. Subsequently, I've looked him up and studied a little bit about him. And one of the headlines in the newspapers from the reviews was Roger Bobo plays recital on tuba. And that was the headline, and then I got the review. Well, with the kind of mind that John Updike had, he saw Bobo and tuba, and he sort of got a computer readout of the play on the 2 words. And it's a brilliant poem.
l'America quando lei suonava alla Los Angeles Philharmonic. Quali cambiamenti culturali e sociali erano in arrivo?
Well, it was a pretty exciting time. Zubinmehta was the conductor, and we did a lot of tours. We went on, in 1967, we went on a round the world tour, and the world's changed a lot since then. We played for the King of Greece. We played for the coronation of the Shah of Iran. And I think we went to something like 17 different countries. It was a 10-week tour, and I loved every minute of it. Many of my colleagues in the orchestra thought that was too long. They wanted to go home. But it was 10 weeks.
Mi piacerebbe parlare anche degli anni di Fiesole, del suo soggiorno in Italia. Cosa vide di diverso nel nostro paese rispetto all'America? Cosa le colpì dell'Italia?
Yes, the Fiesole Scuola di Musica was an enormous, a wonderful place. It was an old villa that had been converted into a music school. It was a private music school. It was also the home of the Orchestra Giovanile, the Italian youth orchestra. And my job was to coach the brass section of the Orchestra Giovanile. And it was a wonderful experience for me. And I got to work with these players, and I got to deal with the repertoire. And I had the opportunity, rehearsing the brass players, to actually conduct through a lot of repertoire, which later on paid off because I started getting conducting jobs that I was able to do because I had the experience of conducting those pieces. It was unlike any other music school I've ever seen. With this Italian youth orchestra, it was also a music school. It was chamber music classes, and every instrument, piano, guitar, and a little bit of very, very modern music with a composer from Yugoslavia then, by the name of Vinko Globokar. And that it was just an extraordinarily great atmosphere. And many music schools have, conductors on the faculty that can conduct a concert. The Orchestra Giovanile would get the best conductors in the world. People like Giulini, carlomariagiulini, and Sonopoli, and other world-class conductors who came and rehearsed the Orchestra Giovanile, and they would play concerts. The brass players that I dealt with were extraordinary. Before they came to me, they were already great. And we got results. I think these brass players, this brass section could have been a brass section of any symphony orchestra in the world and been proud of what they do. And I hesitate, but it sounds like bragging. I think all of the brass players in the session that I worked with are now members of different Italian symphony orchestras. You can't go to an Italian symphony orchestra without a couple of students from the Orchestra Giovanile during my period. I was thinking of Italian Brass Week, which is a week that brass players from all over the world come and meet in Firenze, and they have the best teachers, and students come from all over the world, and it's just a week of brass music with extraordinarily wonderful events. There's one event where there's a brass section on the shores of the Arno River, and another brass section from the Ponte Vecchio, and another brass section out on the gondolas, and we're playing back and forth to each other. It's a wonderful event.
Vorrei chiederle anche della sua attività per le colonne sonore dei film di Hollywood. Per quali film ha lavorato in particolare?
Well, it was extraordinary. And I was asked this morning on the internet for a meeting of tuba players, an international meeting of tuba players who would talking about, somebody mentioned the movie Young Frankenstein. I said, oh, I played the soundtrack for that. But I played a soundtrack for a lot of them. Superman, Indiana Jones, you know, I can't remember them all. But there was a lot. Godfather 2, I can't remember them all. But it was a special atmosphere in the studios. And when I left Los Angeles and moved to Firenze, I thought I would probably miss playing in the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra. But what I missed most was playing in the studios, because you would walk in to a recording session for a movie and you don't know what you're going to see. It could be just whole notes and filling in harmonies, or it could be like a tuba concerto. And I enjoyed that excitement of going in and experiencing whatever surprise it was going to be. I've done many movies with John Williams and Henry Mancini and all the great Hollywood composers.
Da poco ha lasciato il Giappone e attualmente vive in Messico. A cosa si sta dedicando in questo momento?
Oh, right now, up until now, it's going to change very soon, I think. But for the last year, I've been giving private lessons online. And now I have almost 20 students. And what I do is I give 1-hour lessons, and it's very successful. It keeps me busy, which is the most important thing. It was a result of COVID, because I was sitting here in my house in Mexico without anything to do. So I put an ad up on Facebook and I started getting students. Now it's really developed into an occupation. Before that, I was traveling around the world. I go to Japan every year. I lived in Japan. I went from Italy to Switzerland to Japan to Mexico. After I came back and moved to Mexico, I have visited Japan every February since then, except the last February with the coronavirus. When I was in Japan, and I was a Yamaha artist, and Yamaha designed a mouthpiece for me. It's called the Bobo Solo, and it's a great mouthpiece. And I think it's their biggest selling mouthpiece. Subsequently, I left Yamaha and I became involved with a marvelous mouthpiece company called Volare. And Volare has designed several mouthpieces. They're just 1 meter behind me, and I could hold them up and show them to you. And, you know, I think they're extraordinary mouthpieces. They're hard to get outside of Japan. COVID slowed down the spread of these mouthpieces. So I think it's a matter of time until it hits the international market. But COVID just put an end to that. I played last February, I did a month in Japan. When I came back, I was going to rest for a week and then take a trip across the United States at various universities, and then go to Slovenia, then go to Germany, then go to Switzerland, and then go to Israel. And all of this was ready to go. And within 5 or 6 days, it was very clear I had to cancel all that. So right now I'm hopefully going to recover that trip.
Grazie ancora maestro per averci concesso del tempo e per averci fatto fare questo prezioso viaggio nella storia della musica americana.
Thank you. It's just, I'm in the middle of it. I'm ready to keep going. Arrivederci.
Has played with the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra for 20 years, and he is a superb musician. His latest album is called Graffiti is Light Today. Would you welcome Roger Bobo?
My accompanist, Gloria Chain.